Sure. What's up, everybody? This is Katrina from In Cat We Trust, and I am back finally with another interview for season three. And here I have with me the absolutely awesome Duncan Solaire, and we have been trying to set this up for a minute, and we finally got it together. And so I can't wait to interview them. So, how are you on this Saturday night on your end?
Well, let me just introduce myself to your audience. Hello, everybody. It's DUNCAN, Duncan Soul Air, the queer queen of the Korean wrestling scene. Happy to be in y'all auditory zones right now. Now, asking how my Saturday is, well, it's a little quiet. I mean, things have opened up in South Korea. They got clubs going crazy. There's a huge controversy going on with the fact that they're banning black people from some clubs, but that's a different issue for a different day. Talk to expat Pat about that. But I was inside most of today, just vibing, working on art, things of that nature. Got to stay busy because the wrestling scene here is kind of small.
Okay, okay. I've heard. I think I feel like I've heard about the thing with the clubs, but I think I saw it like mostly on TikTok, and I don't want to. Sometimes it's like making sure translations is correct and everything. So, but that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
no,
okay. That's a
it's
whole
been pretty
other.
wild.
A whole other. Yeah, that is a rant for another day in regards to how black people are treated. But I don't want to get in that. Like, let's not get into that rant. 'Cause that would be a whole like big thing with me. So, I guess I'm always curious whenever I interview anybody is just like what got you into wanting to make wrestling like something that was either part of your career or something that you really always wanted to work in.
So that's a very fun story. So I get asked that all the time. My partner asks me that. People who see me work always ask me that. And so I guess it starts even before my debut, back when I was a kid, when I was like really first getting into wrestling, because I had known about wrestling and I had known wrestling was fake. But then in like fourth grade, I really bit in. And it's going to sound bad, but the wrestler who got me most was Goldberg. And I know that's not like the smarky thing to say, like, ew, Goldberg. But no, like when he was presented, and it's funny because I wasn't watching him on WCW, I was watching him on WWE. So it wasn't even like peak Goldberg. It was watered down Goldberg. And I was over here just, my God. And so I saw that as like a very interesting thing. And that's what really hooked me into wrestling as something that I liked. Now, what made wrestling something I wanted to do, I guess you would either tie it to SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, the old classic game, or you would tie it to like all of the video packages that they would play about wrestlers, how they came in, what really turned them into a wrestler. Like John Cena's about him playing football, or Bradshaw's about him playing football, or The Rock's about him playing football. A lot of football players. But yeah, that's what actually got me like into wrestling.
Hmm.
Outside of wanting to watch wrestling and enjoying wrestling, all my friends would play wrestling. I mean, everybody played wrestling, but I actually would look into ways of like getting into it. And it was actually happenstance. I was living in Missouri at the time, and a friend of mine who was a rapper uh, told me about this backyard promotion that they were doing. And it was trampoline wrestling. So we did some yarder stuff. I was a bit of a arrogant little kid, so wasn't the best at times. So I had to like learn to humble myself a bit. Got another chance in a actual fed with a ring. Not that it was a good fed, but it had a ring, like a legitimate ring. My first company ever. I had my first training session and my first match for a company called Heartland Championship Wrestling. Not the Heartland Championship Wrestling. If there's like a prestigious, legendary one. No, this one was from uh, an overweight racist dude named Will, who just had all of the black people come out as a team a lot of the time. But yeah, I got paid that show, not with pay, of course. I didn't even get a hot dog and a handshake. I got a pie from a raffle ticket. and a handshake.
Oh
That
wow.
was that was my that was my big win. It was a good pie though, so can't complain too much. But yeah, no, wrestling's just been there for me, like pretty much as a constant. And aside from the other things that I like to do, whether it's acting, whether it's art, um, it's really been something that I've stayed very passionate about. And I've been, I guess some would say blessed, some would say cursed, depending on your relationship to wrestling at the moment, with like opportunities. Now, uh, can't say all those opportunities have been the greatest, but I feel as though in the time that I've been wrestling, I have learned a lot. And I mean, I'm still doing it. I still love it. Still wake up like, man, I want to do these cool moves that I just saw, as opposed to like some of my friends that I saw who, uh, let's say, stopped wrestling because retiring in wrestling is like not necessarily a true statement anymore.
Definitely agree with that retirement statement. And then I'm like, I thought you said you were done. Not that I dislike it that you're coming back, but it's always like, well, are you really retired so I could like grieve that loss, or is it gonna be like I'll be back in like 6 months?
Exactly,
I
exactly.
totally understand that. So for somebody who's like being introduced to you for the first time, as far as like your wrestling style and your persona in wrestling, how would you describe that to somebody who's never seen you wrestle before?
Well, if they're going to watch the current incarnation of my character, Duncan Solaire, I would say braggadocious, loudmouth, but with a heart of gold. Uh, Helps that I'm pretty. I'm pretty, but I'm also nice, and I also knock somebody out if they talk the wrong way. Uh, Wonderful on the mic, if I do say so myself. There is nobody who can touch me on the MIC. But when I was younger, I had, of course, the Sunny Diago character, which I used to come to the ring with a bottle of Sunny D, which it worked. I mean, people loved it. One of my best matches was against a dude named Kevin Cross, not the Kevin Cross, but a Kevin Cross. And yeah, beat him up with a bottle of Sunny D. It was a good time. Good time. But yeah, current incarnation. Let's see, from the bar show that we just had. I would say very queer, very happy-go-lucky, but also very loud and also very, very violent. Pretty violent would be a good mix of things. I'm nice. I'm a baddie, but I'll also knock you out if you cross the line, or if you ugly, or if you in my way, because I want a title.
I love, I love the whole thing that's like, yeah, I'm pretty, but I'll kick your ass. And if you're ugly, I love that. That's so like, I feel like that does embody, I guess, what you're saying as far as your gimmick. So, with in regard, I guess, how wrestling is here in America, in my where I'm at, and then where you are now. What are some like differences to like, I guess, an American audience and like, I guess American promotions, and then Korean promotions and Korean audience?
Well, that's actually really fun to talk about because a lot of Korean audiences actually are just huge fans of American style wrestling. While, of course, the influence and presence of NJPW cannot be ignored, and Japanese style wrestling is very popular here, I would, and I did this as kind of like a precursor to like see what I could watch to get more familiarized with what people would want to do in the ring. And surprisingly, Japan plays uh, a very low level in amount in what you're going to be focusing on for the audience and for the people you're wrestling with. A lot of people have just very westernized eyes. You're more likely to hear about what happened on WWE. People's favorite wrestlers are going to be WWE wrestlers. While there might be a mention of like Tiger Mask or Jushin Thunder Liger or Kenta, there's definitely more of an emphasis on something they saw on WWE, specifically WWE, not AEW, not WCW, uh, or TNA, if that one still gets counted as one of the major ones. So, as far as audiences go, in the bar shows, it's more of a Western crowd, so it's very familiar, very homey. It's like a hometown
Yeah.
coming for me, or a homecoming match for me, I should say. For the primarily Korean audiences, it still really hits very Western. South Korea does have like a huge Westernization push. So even in front of primarily Korean audiences, there is still a heavy Western influence in the wrestling and the promotion. And a good example of this is like everybody complains about like the WWE promo where every show starts with like a 20-minute promo. For like the last, God forgive me, I can't even remember how many months they've started the show here with a promo. And I've had to like recreate my character because normally I'm the one that comes out, I talk a little trash, I get people all amped up, like, ooh, what's Duncan gonna say? But I can't do that no more because everybody's talking so much. Like every match lately has been promo, promo, promo. And it's like, baby, I get that you all trying to catch up to me, but y'all gotta let me do my thing. Like I'm the one that's actually doing it well. You guys are out here just doing it. And so that's one thing I've noticed that they really follow like the WWE style. Um, Sometimes you would say to a fault. The editing also has gotten a lot better on matches for the YouTube channel. Hold on.
Uh-huh.
Sorry, allergy season. But the editing has gotten a lot better. It used to be matches were getting butchered when they were getting put online, and fans would complain about how the matches were very sloppily edited, how strikes and everything was just cut to all hell, and nothing really flowed. And then we got a new editor who was also the booker at the time and the champion at the time. And people liked those matches. They liked those editings or those edits. But that wrestler is no longer with the company. And I'm not at liberty to discuss their name because they're starting their own promotion. So they don't really like people talking about their name and stuff. But yeah, they left. And now editing has gone back to being more minimal.
Yeah.
And it's gotten a lot better, but the crowd still seems to like pop for the people who they're told to pop for. You do get like this weird kind of thing that I've noticed where like nobody wants to be a bad guy and nobody wants to be a pure good guy, and so that's one thing that my gimmick is really clear on is in South Korea. I'm here as a fan favorite. I'm here to be nice. I'm here to get over with the fans. I'm here to be positive, which is different than what the former Booker wanted me to do, which is they wanted me to be an arrogant Warren Hill who lost all the time. I'm trying to rebuild my character now. I've been talking with other companies and other countries to, come through, do a few matches. Here's like that queer baby face who's there to rah rah, but also knock a few people out. If you need them to be dope with, let's see what I do. But yeah, no, that's what I can say mainly for the fans here. Not really a work rate crowd, truth be told. They do like work rate spots, but they don't necessarily care that much if you do spot versus if you do move, breathe. And so I was trained by Steve Boz in Chicago. And so the style that he had me doing was a little bit more old school, and that's gotten over. At first, it took a little while for the crowd to like warm up to me, but after a while, like me speeding a few things up, getting my own pacing and stuff like that, that actually helped a lot.
Okay, okay. So you said you was trained in Chicago. So how was, I guess, that experience as far as like kind of learning the ropes and learning about getting your persona together for the audience? How was that experience?
It was a very mixed bag. Um, like I always have like trouble discussing like who I was trained by and stuff because like for example with Steve Oz and Willie the Bomb Richardson, I kind of left their company CSW on a bit of a like negative end just because like I was young, I had a lot of people in my ear saying what I should be doing with my career, where I should be, what was going wrong, why it was going wrong. And then I had and I don't want to discuss this one too much because it involves somebody who's currently in WWE. I had a really unfortunate match where the person dropped me on my head, and I didn't really get any support from the people who were supposed to be my trainers. And so I felt very like bitter towards them. So I started working other places, and it kind of taught me, don't trust anybody and also protect yourself. Uh, and it also like made me understand that you can't really have like a home if you don't really like value what you are doing. And so for a lot of time while I was in Chicago, I was just showing up, doing dark matches, losing, setting up the ring, tearing down the ring, managing tables, doing stuff like that. I wasn't really working.
Yeah.
And so I would get compliments from people, like, hey, you got good instincts, you got this. But for a funny anecdote, one of the people who heard me cut a promo told me, "Don't cut promos like that. You can't use words like that because your promos should be this, and this." And it was funny because everybody who heard him speak hated him. Like hated when he was talking. They hated his commentary when he would like do the commentary tracks for videos. And he was telling me about how my promos were bad when I was young. Now I don't have any of those promos recorded, so I can't tell you if they're good or bad. But I can say that that kind of lit a fire under me because every wrestler who heard me speak were like, "Yo, you got a bit of a little talent on this. You should work on that." And then when I would go to people who had like more experience than me, I would get kind of like a lot of pushback. And so like I had to find my own sort of audience, even with like wrestlers. And I found a really good connection with these two guys, Shane Foster and Marcelo Spade. They wrestled under Natural Fury. I don't know if they're still working, but those two were my guys. Those two had me traveling. Those two brought me many places. And uh, what I learned from both of them is definitely how to treat it more like a business. Also, Brandon Espinoza in St. Louis, great guy. Brandon Espy is one of the best people I've worked with. Really pushed me to look more meticulously at what I was doing and treat it more like a business, not like a, oh, I'm happy to be here. No, it's this is my job. I'm here to do a job. So what am I doing? Get in and get out. That was really formative for me. So from him onward, I was working like I want to say 3 shows a week, and then which is unfortunate because I don't have anything to show for real. But he was the one who took me out to OVW, and if I would have got my blood work just a little bit faster, I could have made an OVW debut. Uh, yeah, no, it was really positive working with him. It was a really good experience for me. So while I have matured a lot since those days, it was pretty rough on me, truth be told. I did have a lot going on while because I was also in college
Yeah.
trying to be a wrestler, traveling. Like I don't come from like a lot of money, so spending the money on training and the trains there and stuff like that, it was pretty hard. It was hard on the pocketbook. It was hard making sure I was like making weight and stuff. And while I would get all of these compliments, I didn't really see anything coming from it, and so it was hard to feel like it was actually true, if that makes sense to you. It
No.
didn't really feel like people had my back at that time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't until like I expanded out and now I'm in a different country. I see like, hey, it was really cool that they did that with me. Oh, and I didn't even shout out the person who even put me on to Steve Oz, Matt Nix, the guy behind Pro Wrestling Tees. That was a really good positive experience too. Him, Chris Castro, they were really good guys as well. The first time I went to training, I saw I saw Scarlett Bordeaux. I saw Matt Marquis, who went on to become English, and of course, I saw Kalisto there. So it was like I was overwhelmed with like, oh wow, these guys are actually on WWE TV and stuff like that. So yeah, that's all I can really say. Like training in Chicago was a mixed bag for me. I think with a little bit more maturity, I could have made it a better situation, but I don't regret much of it. A few things definitely, but not everything.
I mean, no, that makes sense as far as like everything wasn't perfect, but I guess you got what you needed to get or learn what you needed to learn. And kudos for doing that during college because my college, I went to so many different colleges over the years and like kept changing things, and then life happened, and I'm like, oh, I'll get back there. And there's a lot, so I kudos that you was able to do that and go to college and you survived that. Because man, listen, I wish I was
Thank
more
you, thank
focused
you.
than I was going to college, but a lot of stuff happening. So what made you made the jump to, I guess, living in Korea and wrestling in Korea? Like, what was that moment for you in your life? this might be what I need to do to kind of get that extra, you know, pizzazz.
So jump coming to Korea and wrestling in Korea were two completely unrelated things.
Uh-huh.
I was burnt out by the time I stopped wrestling in America. Uh, then I had a pretty bad breakup. My mind was a million miles away from wrestling or doing anything. But I was tired of being in America. Anybody that follows me on Instagram at the Duncan Soliare, you can see my politics. You know your girl does not have anything nice to say about America. But I just really wanted to get out of the country. And so Korea was the one that made the best offer because, like, Japan wasn't going to pay enough, China wasn't going to pay enough, Mexico, I needed to be Catholic. And so I was like, hey, yo, let me just go ahead and make this flight, go to a different continent and all of that. And so got the contract, uh, got the paperwork done, flew out. And it was about my first year in Korea that the itch started to come back. And that itch started hitting me bad. And I figured I banked on the fact that because Korea was so Americanized that there was probably going to be like some form of wrestling in South Korea. And lucky enough, there was. And my partner at that time messaged them because I didn't have any social media. And they had me come in for a tryout. Of course, I was still ring rusty. But yeah, from there, trained up a little bit more with them, got my ring rust shook off. Uh, they actually didn't want to debut me on the first show that I showed up on, but they let me do a practice promo to see what I would say on the mic.
Uh-huh.
And I blew away everybody in the makeshift locker room that we had. So then they had me go out in front of the audience, and before I can say anything, they hear my name as Duncan Solaire and immediately call me Dunkin' Donuts. And so I argue with the crowd. They're booing like crazy. And from that moment, I've been pretty consistently like talked about. It's been hard to rebuild the character from just like this joke, obnoxious heel to like somebody to take seriously as a pretty credible babyface. But I've been working at it. I've been working to get that over and stuff like that. Um, it does help that like my shirts sell out whenever I sell them, so that's always a positive. So I'm not Dunkin' Donuts no more.
The fact, I mean, I get why, but then it's like, really though? Like, why are you
Really
not
though.
um, is there any like advice that was given to you that you kind of still hold really dear in regards to like wrestling as a whole?
I remember this guy, LVK, St. Louis wrestler. I don't know if he's still working. He would always go out, and it was a bit of naivete on his part. He would say, "You got to go out. You got to steal the show. Like there's a WWE scout out there every single time." And it was wild because we were wrestling in front of like 10 people in Southern Illinois. He would just always be like that. But I didn't get it at the time. I didn't get why he would say that because it's like, there ain't gonna be no WWE scout in Southern Illinois. What are you talking about? But now I'm in South Korea where the last show we had, we only had like 10 people. And I went out there like there was a WWE scout out there because, like, it's not just about performing, getting your moves in, ha ha ha, playing wrestler. It's about like making the crowd believe in you because whether it's 10 people, whether it's 10,000 people, if you go out there with like top effort, you can't really be disappointed in yourself if like you don't get what you want out of the match because if you put your all out there, then the audience responds to that, then it's really a bad match. Is it really important that it was only 10? Is it really important if it was this much? No. If you lay it all out there, then you should be able to take something away from it. And that was really important. That gave you a way to view the world. Brandon Espy, of course. This is a business. This is not a hobby. This is not a. This is you're not a pro wrestler until you can pay your bills with this, and so treat it like that. until you can actually, make something out of it. And I really appreciate that because I feel like a lot of people get taken advantage of in the industry because a lot of wrestlers are marks. Like a lot of wrestlers, they want to be wrestlers, they like wrestling, they love it, and so they look for any opportunity to be wrestlers to do the thing. You get your belt marks, you get your money marks, you get your name marks, you get your self marks. All of that to say, I don't really hold being a mark against somebody. I'm a mark. But you have to remember that not everybody is a good person. Not everybody's going to protect you just because you're a good person or you're nice or you're young or you're a kid. I know from experience that that's true. So you have to be able to disassociate yourself from your ideal, what wrestling is as a dream to you versus what wrestling actually is. And it is a business where you're putting your body on the line. You're doing 5 performances, so you have to be able to take care of yourself. You have to look the part. And if you're not being treated like what you're worth, you have to be ready to stand your ground and demand what you're worth. And I've learned that over the last few years, and I do the last few years in Korea because if you don't say what you won't accept, then people will just assume you will accept everything. It's not to where you put your foot down, like, hey, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is why, that you can really start getting things that you want. Because if you just expect it to be handed to you, it won't be. Um, so yeah, that was from Esky. And then I guess the last one is I guess you could say it was from Willie or you could say it was from Rough Crossing, but either way, it's like uh I guess the term would be, and I don't want to be too vulgar, but fuck money. Which is when it comes to what you're getting paid on the indie shows, please remember that you're probably not getting paid a lot. So it's fuck money. Just use it, get you some food, get you some, like your gimmicks are what's gonna get you money. The match, if it pays well, okay. If it doesn't, because that's actually what motivated me to start making gimmicks, T-shirts, stickers, things like that. When I was coming to shows, I would leave very salty because it takes like a little bit of money to get to where the arenas are in South Korea, and like the money ain't really there for you, truth be told. But, and this is the big but, when you get them gimmicks out, money be looking kind of nice with it. It be looking kind of cute with it. Not as cute as me, but it be looking kind of sexy with it, if you get what I'm saying. So, like, that's probably the best one. Wrestling money at the end of the day is probably just going to be fuck money.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed that. Like, I didn't realize how, like, I guess with indie promotions, how low it could be until I started like doing. I'm like, I was told I got paid most and more people would do, I guess, in my job. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't do that whole we're doing stuff for just free promotion. I don't do that in general because I literally do my own podcast. So I don't need, no. So I feel like in all aspects of life that you kind of need to have that whole like, don't allow anybody to kind of just do whatever to you. I feel like that's such an important life piece of advice, even outside of wrestling, because that's something I had to learn the hard way as well. Being nice isn't always isn't always going to be a good thing when I'm being how I am generally am. It's just like everybody doesn't appreciate stuff and they will try to take advantage of that. So that's even just a great life advice in general. Like stand your ground and do what you need to do, but also like none of this. Like don't let people what's the word? Let's not take you to shit. That's the way I probably word that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So I know you said you do like art and stuff. So is that something you've been doing for a long time? And what have you like if you're comfortable sharing that? Like what are some things you've been working on like recently?
Well, I do try to keep the artistic account separate from the Duncan Solaire persona, strictly because like the two are unrelated. One of them is on its own. The other one is me. The one you get to see. So what I can say is I have been working on it since I've been in South Korea. It's been pretty productive, gotten a lot of warm reception. Currently going through like a bit of a mental block right now, trying to like push through it. But it's been really rewarding. I like to stay busy, like I said. There's not really much you can do in the Korean wrestling scene. There's one promotion that runs the promotion that I'm at. There's another promotion that has all of the like names of South Korea, but they never run. And then there's one that's in talks of running, but I mean, where you at though, my guy? And so, like, I've currently been talking to like people in Australia to go down there and maybe do like a week long tour. But getting to Australia is a bit expensive, isn't it? It's a bit expensive, mate. And so, trying to figure out if it's going to be worth it on that front. I got a promoter out in New York for the industrial workers. They want to get me out there, and I would love to work with them. But again, I ain't got money like that. I ain't got money to be just flying out and not getting a flight back or something. I can't be risking all that money. Hey, yo, so it's like that ass. Your girl like trying to be economical with this. Um, so that's the main thing that's been on the mind, strictly speaking. But like I can say for my art, I'm very proud of what I've been doing. My partner's always on my head to remember I've done a lot and not to get so stressed on it for not being finished with things that I want to be finished with. But yeah, that's what I feel comfortable sharing about that part.
I definitely understand the mental block. I do my writing stuff that's solely not like articles and stuff. Like my fictional writing definitely suffered during the quarantine. So I'm like, everything's kind of weird right now. I feel a little stressed. I feel a little depressed, and so it wasn't coming like I needed it to come. So I had to take a little bit of a break, which is kind of how this whole wrestling. Well, I guess for me, doing wrestling like articles and podcasts kind of started. Just like I need something to do something that's an outlet, but not book related because it got a bit of a hassle, like trying to get pushed through that. So finally, that's getting back to normal, like 2.5 years later. We're finally back into getting my words like I needed to, and so hopefully by the end of this year, I got something out. But yeah, I totally understand that. And you said you also do acting. So how's that like? How's that experience? Because I've heard very different things from like over the years of people who are into that scene. So how's that? I guess like, and how different is? I know they say wrestling could be like acting when you have to kind of amp that up a bit, but how is that like? How was that experience? How is that? Do you use that also to tie in with your wrestling?
To answer your question, because my phone's battery is like getting low, uh, I started like taking acting more seriously when I was in my second college run because I went back to college while I was going through the breakup, and I started taking acting classes and did some Shakespearean work, did some monologues. I think that's what made me more comfortable as far as live performance goes, live stage performance and things of that nature. What I take from it is, to be open and available in the moment. Shout out to my teacher. That man was hilarious. And from that, it's made me a bit more comfortable. Now, as far as getting acting roles in South Korea, it's been a bit of an uphill struggle, mainly because of my shoot work schedule. It's not the best. It's not the most amenable to things.
Yeah.
But from what I have been able to do, it's been pretty fine. It's also why I started like posting things on my Insta that were more politically flavored, just so people can hear the voice acting or people can see the expressiveness, people can see the monologues and things of that nature.
Okay, okay. So we're gonna do a really, really quick speed round. I'm gonna ask you something. Tell me the first thing that pops in your head.
Okay,
so,
okay.
so last song you had on repeat.
Oh, Drift Away from the Steven Universe movie. So cute.
Okay, okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Night Owl for sure, for sure.
Okay. Last show you binged watched.
Steven Universe, me and my partner were watching it to see if it was as bad as people were saying. And yeah, that ending was pretty bad. That ending was pretty bad.
One snack you have to have no matter what.
Actually, no shill. I have these BCAAs from this company that made me a brand ambassador. Delicious. If it's not that one, then I go nuts for this thing in South Korea called brown sugar boba tea lattes. They are fire. I'll be over here just sucking down all them mugs. Dead ass.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Ooh, okay. I think about this all the time. Either time control, gravity control, or mind control. Time control, self-explanatory. Like being able to like manipulate time is just like overpowered as hell. Gravity control, because if I can't really manipulate time, gravity control basically lets me manipulate time. Plus, there's nothing cooler than like if you see in one of them shows where they have like gravity powers, just a black orb just crushing somebody. That move looks always badass. And then mind control because like, hey, everyone, sometimes we have to change hearts and minds instead of using guns and bullets. And I think that I do enough research that some people need to shut the fuck up. Not saying everybody needs to shut the fuck up who disagrees with me, but hey, a lot of people say a lot of stupid things, and no more.
That is very true. Um, if you could talk to anybody, dead or alive, who would that person be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I don't usually think about that. I probably would either go Grandpa because he passed away recently, or Tupac because that's a very influential person for me.
Agreed on that one. He was a very interesting, I guess, person in general with how his outlook on stuff was and everything. So okay, so my last question for you. Um, I know you're queer, which I love having. I love seeing that. I feel like we're getting better as a whole with seeing that representation without having it be where promotions are trying to force what they think that representation is. But
Shout outs to Rico.
but how has I guess that been for you? With I've heard some really crazy stories from people where some people were just really cool about it, I guess. But then I've heard some really amazing stories where people it's just like everybody was very accepting. They let me be who I am. And so for you, I guess how has that been with you being very like I'm queer, I'm proud, this is who I am. How has that experience been for you in wrestling?
All right, so I'm at 1%. So all I can say is it's been pretty positive for the most part. It's been pretty positive. I had one person call me a homophobic slur when I was at a show, and then I embarrassed his ass in front of his girlfriend and all of his friends. And yeah, uh, I came out as trans in South Korea, but I've always been pretty fucking gay. Like all my friends always thought I was pretty fucking gay, which was unfortunate because it's like, damn, let me come out. Y'all don't get to just assume that. Fuck y'all. But yeah, no. Being in South Korea, being openly queer in South Korea, it does have some problems, definitely. But as far as wrestling goes, nobody's really giving me shit because I fight people. I will fight your kids.
Okay, well, Duncan's Valerie did run low, so I will have all of their links in the description, so you can definitely go check that out. And wanted to thank them so much for finally coming on. We finally got to have a little conversation. And until next time, you guys, this is Katrina from In Cat We Trust. Bye.